Hey everyone, welcome to the Beauty School Bobbi podcast. I am here today with one of my favorite people. I'm finally here with Siiri Parks. I know that you all know her from TikTok or from Instagram, but we're here together today and I'm so excited to see you, Siiri. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I remember talking about this last year before your big event, and then timeline just didn't really line up. And I was like, oh, I wonder if she still wants. And then you just messaged, and I was like, I'm so excited.
It's weird that this hasn't happened, but I know that you feel the same way, that like time is just moving so quickly and there's so many things going on, like events and planning and stuff, that I feel like I just need a little like kick in the butt to be like, just get things on the schedule. But it's nuts that we haven't done this yet. So I'm super, super happy that we're doing this today. Thank you so much for being here. So we are actually going to get to be together soon. So we're going to be together at America's Beauty Show in April. So I haven't done an official countdown yet, but we're like 2 seconds away from that.
Yeah, it's coming up so soon. It's especially since they're doing it at the beginning of April this year rather than the middle, which I take small offense to, Frank, if you're watching, because ABS always lines up with my birthday because I'm April 23rd, and this year it's the first week of April, and I feel this much less special.
We'll still do a birthday party. Don't worry. We'll just plan something special. But yeah, so I'm so pumped to be back because that's actually where I originally met you, was at America's Beauty Show. And I think that it was our second year being there. The first year that they had brought in this amazing group of influencers, which I just feel like was all meant to be. Like now thinking about the shows and stuff, I'm like, I can't imagine you all not being there, or like maybe, I don't know. I know it's hard to be like, oh, what would have happened, but it just feels so different with all of you there. And I'm just so excited to be together again. So I want to ask you, when you started getting popularity, when you started getting a lot more views and all of that stuff, shows I'm sure just started reaching out to you. Was America's Beauty Show one of the first that you were at, that like hired to be there?
Yeah, America's Beauty Show was the first one to reach out to me. It was actually Frank who reached out to me. And mind you, he reached out to me on his personal Instagram. And I think I was the first person that he reached out to or that saw it. Because admittedly, when I saw it, I thought that it was just another fake account because I get so many random messages of like giveaways, or you've won this, or I have an Hermes fake purse factory, pick this, or you've won this. And so when I saw this guy who had a few hundred followers talking about how he's part of this big beautiful corporation in Chicago, I was like, you're lying. And he was like, but I would love to get on the phone and talk to you about it and see who else you think should be there. And I took a very gutsy chance, and I sent him my personal cell phone number, which, looking back on it, I'm glad it wasn't a fake profile because that could have been way bad. And he called me and it panned out and he was real, and then it kind of all just fell into place.
So did you all know each other? Like you and Bailey, Stu, like did you all know each other? No. So you all like met there? Like, I mean, as far as in person met.
So me and Teresa, since we were so close in proximity and had very much of the same following and had been compared so often, we had met like a year prior to that. I went down to, because I was living in St. Louis, so I drove down to Chicago, hung out there for a few days, and then I went to her salon and collaborated with her and did some videos just to kind of like clear the air and tell the internet like, hey, we can make the same content and not hate each other. Like, we're in the same field. We're going to have similar experiences. And we're also not the same person because I'm basically 6 foot tall and she's like 5 foot tall. and and so we had that background with each other. And then Meg was brought on board. And all three of us met at the press conference. So me and Teresa for the second time, I believe us and Meg for the first time. But to your point, like Bailey and Stu and Lexi and like everyone that was there, Marky, just, I can't even think of all of my beautiful friends right now. But we had all been supporting each other online. And I mean, we didn't know each other in person, but we had all already built this beautiful community via the internet. And then getting to meet each other just by happenstance because of America's Beauty Show created this even bigger, more beautiful thing.
That's so awesome. I am so excited. I think that it actually is a really big part of America's Beauty Show now. And I know that, I mean, just from the lines outside the classroom, and I want to get into talking to you about the classes you're teaching, but I do just want to point out that, like, there is a different energy and a different like feeling when it is just like, and maybe it's just in my memories of like seeing you guys are being just like so happy to see you, but I know other people that maybe are a little shy to come up to you and talk to you or anything like that. Like, I know that there's people that are just looking around, like smiling at their group that's there and just being like, wow, that's them. They're here in real life. And what I love about that so much is I love getting to see it from the side of getting to see you interact with the people that watch you all the time. I think that people don't realize that you all are walking around the show just like normal people. And I know that actually created some challenges in the past also, being like, whoa, everyone is here, you know, right now. And I know everybody kind of handles it a little bit differently, but at America's Beauty Show, they're able to see you and talk to you and not only get to have you in classes, but they're walking in the door. I mean, we were standing over by the DJ booth, like, which is right when you walk in last year as everyone's entering. I mean, that's where we all like reunited and got to see each other. So it really is so beautiful and so special that you get to have this connection with your followers. So talk to me a little bit about what that was like when you were in a place like you're growing on the internet. What was it like when you were in a place where you're like, whoa, people see me and know me and I'm being recognized in this really big way? What was that like?
Oh gosh, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm like tearing up.
Oh.
When I started TikTok, I never in a million years thought that I would be where I am today. And the goal or the mission, I don't even think that I had one, but I know that it wasn't to become famous or to have people stop me in Walmart or to like have people ask me for my autograph, which is newer and it's crazy and it's so surreal and it's so amazing. I think that growing up, I went to so many different schools. I think it was like 12. I wasn't an army brat, but I was so used to being the new kid. And I think that when you're so used to moving around like that, you become so desensitized and detached from people because I didn't really have a chance to form bonds. And then when I started TikTok, it was just a few months before quarantine and COVID. So I feel like when I really started making my videos and doing the wigs was in the height of quarantine when we all had cabin fever and we were all just looking for community. And I feel like I had been searching for community my entire life. And I was at like a really dark place in my life. And that had been going on for a while. And then I started to find this community, other hairstylists, like my For You page started to build itself. And people were relating to my content and messaging me, telling me that I inspire them, that they're the reason that I'm going to beauty school, that something that they've had happen very tragically that has landed them in the hospital for one reason or another. Like my content is what's getting them through their hospital stay. Like just so many things that I didn't feel I was deserving of because I was just talking to myself in a wig and trying to get through life like everyone else. And I'm just so grateful for the life that a silly app has built for me.
Yeah, it is really amazing. And I think that I want to hug you so bad right now, by the way. Like, us not being together doing this is like killing me because I want to jump through the screen and hug you. I think what's really beautiful about it is like, Siiri, that shows like at the show and stuff, like it's so genuine. It's why when you're exhausted after teaching a class or being, you know, walking around the show floor all day, like you'll stop and talk to somebody. You'll stop and take that photo and do that stuff because you're real. And I think that like what I love about this group so much is that I think that, when we're talking about the internet and we're talking about TikTok and stuff like that, like it's so easy to think that like influencers are fake and they're just doing this for the money, or they're just, they're a certain way online, but they're definitely like, you all are even more genuine in person, like, which is, I don't think like normally how it goes, but I think it goes back to what you said about this wasn't like end goal. It wasn't like you even knew that this is where your career was going to go. Like it wasn't in your plan. I mean, I think now that you all have started this trend and this movement in the industry, like with me being at the beauty school, like I know that a lot of people in high school are like, well, I want to follow in your footsteps. I want to do what you're doing. And that's a thing now, but it wasn't at the time. And I know it wasn't that long ago, but we have to think back to before TikTok and all of this stuff happened. I mean, you were creating this content and literally just becoming so big so fast that you all had to navigate this and figure this out, because yes, it existed in different industries. But for the beauty industry specifically, I mean, you all were the ones that started that. And it's really cool that you are so humble about it and that it means so much to you. And so I think that getting to see this, I think that's why I feel like such a special connection with you all also, is that getting to see this happen from the very first moment you and I met, which I want to talk about also, but just from that moment forward to see how you've grown and now teaching classes. And I know this has now opened up to other beauty shows and stuff, but what happens at America's Beauty Show, I think is so special and so different. Again, seeing the lines outside of your classrooms, people waiting to see your class. And I can't even imagine like what this year is going to be like. But the first time I met you, I was recording. So it was my first time, like really hosting at ABS. It was our first year that we were like, okay, they're letting us be here to cover this. And we kind of just came in at the same time. But I'm recording with Daniel Mason Jones. And your mom comes up to Daniel like after, which is like so normal, by the way. Like he's, everything. People are stopping to see what we're doing. We have huge cameras and all that stuff. So normal. But your mom comes up and is like, Daniel, like, do you have a second? Siiri would, like to talk to you. And everyone's like looking at you and looking at him. Like it was such a funny moment, like on the other side. But what is so amazing about that is you had a connection with Daniel from a previous event, which again, I think just encompasses what America's Beauty Show is, because this all for full circle happened just like right in front of us. So tell that story about why you wanted to talk to Daniel Mason Jones and kind of what that was like for you at that show.
I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. It was a 100% complete full circle moment. And my mom is my biggest supporter, my biggest cheerleader, my best friend, my biggest headache. Sorry if you're watching, Mom. I feel like that's what y'all do. But I love her so much, and I definitely would not be where I am in any aspect of my life if it wasn't for her and her guidance and her support and her meddling. And that's what she did that day. Okay, so to preface, it was like the first year of me being a licensed hairstylist at my first salon job. Many of you know that that's where a lot of my original stories, not the ones sent in from followers, but my personal stories stem from. And I was just having such a low. And also, this is why I love working with Penny from BeautyCast, because she is advocating for students and for newer stylists to continue down this career path, because me and her and so many other people understand more than anyone that the first 2 years out of beauty school can be a real make or break mentality. And I was at that year and a half mark, and I thought that I was going nowhere in this career field because of just where I was at. I didn't feel like I was learning anything new. I didn't feel challenged, at least not in the right way, not in a constructive way. And I was burnt out and I was broke. And so I went to this St. Louis hair show and I took one class that day, and it was Daniel Mason Jones' class. And he and I have a very similar upbringing, both being part of the queer community, both growing up in religion, both finding career paths in the beauty industry. And we are we are just kindred spirits all the way. And when I got out of that class, I called my mom and I was like, okay, I still am not happy at the salon that I'm at, but I don't want to quit the industry. And she was like, that's good. And I was like, I feel this whole, like, I'm going to start using hashtags on Instagram and I'm going to start posting more. And I need to get a better iPhone so that I can have portrait mode, which is what all of the stylists are doing with their before and after photos so that it looks cleaner. And I took everything that he said to heart and I listened to it. And then after the fact, even with him being such a busy person, he is also so humble. So after his class, he had gotten bombarded with people wanting autographs, wanting pictures, wanting to just talk to him. And I was one of those people. And I got just a picture with him. And in his class, he had mentioned, you know, I have a larger following, so this is something that I take and I say in my classes that I teach with Bailey as well. Since I have a larger following, if you're trying to build on your platform, feel free to tag me and I'll be happy to share it to my story. I'll be happy to repost it. Like, let me plug you because I have the resources, and like, why not give if you have the capacity to give? And that was something that I learned from him. And I just went on my merry way, and I just thought that it was the coolest encounter ever, and I never thought that anything would come from it. And I started posting on my Instagram with the portrait mode and the hashtags, and sometimes I would tag him, and he would comment on every single post, and I was nothing. I had 150 followers in my hometown, or not my hometown, but in the town that my home was in, where I was doing hair. And then next thing you know, like 4 or 5, I can't even remember how many years later, I'm at my first show and I have a following and I'm being paid to teach at America's Beauty Show. And there's Daniel Mason Jones, someone I never thought that I would see in person again. And my mom goes up and says that I want to speak to him. And I was just fangirling and in awe. And much like, I don't call people my followers, I call them my friends, because I have built such genuine friendships on the internet with people that started off as followers. So much like a lot of my friends tell me, you're the reason that I stayed in the beauty industry, or you're the reason that I went into hair school. I told Daniel that day that he is the reason that I'm still a hairstylist. He's the reason that I'm at America's Beauty Show. He's the reason that I met you. He's the reason for so many things. And he's so humble and so amazing, and would not take credit where credit was absolutely due. And he was like, no, it's because of you. And I feel like had I not taken that class that day, I mean, it's just the butterfly effect through and through. Like, I would not be here. I'd probably be at some 9 to 5, which there's nothing wrong with, but I was meant to be in a creative industry such as this, and this was all meant to happen, and who knows what will happen, but I at least owe it to me taking that one class that day.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited to see that. And I want to, like, I don't know. I know it's going to happen and it'll whatever, but I'm excited for this to happen to you. To be like, I saw you in America. You know what I mean? Like, it'll come back. And I don't know if you know this or if you remember, I just was remembering when you were talking about this, but last year there was a panel. Again, so what's so awesome is at America's Beauty Show, you're not just one and done. You're not just in one class and then we never see you again. I mean, there's multiple times, there's meet and greets, and there's different stages that you're on. And so last year on the Monday, which is the student day, Beauty Cast did a panel. And before it had started, love Penny. She's amazing. So she was like, I didn't realize that she had a microphone that was like live. And I was like, oh, they haven't started yet. And I went up and like gave her a big hug, and right next to her was Daniel Mason Jones, and he was there to watch you all. And it's just never stops amazing me that this all happened, and that he's still there to support you. And again, that's all like just people supporting each other. And I'm just a really big believer in like the light that you put out is the light that you get back. And there is something about him specifically that has just boosted so many people. But like Siiri, like I feel the same way about you. Like it really is, you have that thing, which is why, I mean, yes, you put in the work and like all the things, like there is an algorithm to all of this, right? But I think so much bigger than that, it's just the light that you put out. out and this has happened. And I just think it's so wonderful. And I can't wait to see like when somebody comes up to you and is like, I did this because of Siiri, or I met Siiri in America's Beauty Show, 2022 or whatever. And then get to watch that. So I'm so excited. So speaking of the show, so you are teaching this year. So are you teaching with Bailey or separate classes? Tell me what you're doing there.
Bailey and I, as far as like foreseeable future goes, when it comes to the classes at ABS and Premiere, we're doing the classes that we have done and some revamped classes. I know that we both have individual endeavors that we work on, but we very much bounce ideas off of each other and always try to include each other within so many different things. But yeah, the classes at ABS and Premiere are Bailey and I's classes. And we have, I don't necessarily want to say new because it touches on a lot of what we touched on last year. It's just revamped. We're trying to be more socially aware of what we put out there because it was a class dedicated to mental health. And we're just trying to be, what's the word? No, I don't want to say respectful.
Like more PC? Like politically correct or?
Kind of, yeah. We just want to make sure that we are not trying to tell anyone that we are mental health professionals, and we don't want to be putting out any information that is false. So we are trying to make people understand that this is, if you're dealing with something similar, this was our experience. This is how we got through it. We don't ever want to steer anyone in the wrong direction. And both her and I are big advocates on seeking professional help if that's what you need. There's nothing taboo about it. And I think that just because of the way some of our classes were titled in the past, it was like, oh, mental health, and we're not we're therapists. Like, you can sit in our chair and tell us everything, but at the end of the day, like, we can't really give you any advice other than what we've dealt with.
Yeah. So is that one of the main things? Like when people message you or come up to you at shows, talk to you at classes, what's the number one question that you get? I know this is like on the spot, but is it questions about you personally, or is it what's the secret? I want this following and I want what you have. What's the question that you get?
I think it's really two, and it's just like what you said. Like, the largest one is, how do I get this following? Because either that's so many people's dream, or a lot of people are understanding that now to be successful in so many different industries, like, you have to have an online presence. And so for one reason or another, people are like, how did you do it? Tell me. So that's why so many of our panels and our classes are social media based or mental health within our own experiences. But then the other one, which is why I continue to make these videos, and I feel like so many people have kind of gotten tired of them while so many people still enjoy them. And then there's also a new generation of people finding them who enjoy them. But there have been a large amount of people that are like, oh, I'm so tired of this. But for those people, I don't think that they understand that so many of the, which is unfortunate, so many of the newer stylists and the baby stylists and even some seasoned stylists have come up to me at the beauty show, and especially for a meet and greet, and they will stand in line for like an hour just to ask me, like, what gave you the courage to leave your toxic salon? And this is why I continue to put out that content that some people get tired of, because, like, you should be able to recognize those red flags, and you should. I think a large comment that I get too is like, no is a full sentence, and it's like, that just doesn't work. Like, sometimes you have to learn how to navigate these things and be more PC and just have, like, articulate and have the vocabulary to get around this and not make it this big world star thing. It doesn't need to get out of hand, but you also don't need to just sit there and get berated or bullied from a fellow stylist, a boss, a client. And I don't know, but I definitely
Siiri, I was going to say that I think, like, just as in like what you're doing, right? Like, so people haven't seen the content that you put out. You do skits and you act out things that either happen to you or that people will write in about the industry. Now, I think that there's a couple of things. Like, number one, you could literally be telling a story and somebody be like, wait, that happened. I thought that this was just like how the industry was, right? So I think that it's okay to talk about these things and to say this isn't right if this is happening, or if this is your experience, it's, here's how you can handle it, or like all of those things. So I think that there is, I don't know. I think number one, you're just never going to make everybody happy, right? Like that's like the big thing is
That's
not
something
everyone
that
is
you
going to.
have to understand about having an online presence. You cannot please anyone. And if you think that you're going to, unfortunately, you're probably not going to make it. And I feel like that is why I almost didn't make it in the beginning, because anytime I would get a video with negative feedback or comments from people saying that like this video was dumb, or that they didn't like this, or that I should not be making content, or a lot of people think nothing, not that there's anything wrong with being a millennial, but apparently I have millennial humor, and I'm 26 years old, so that was also something that people would take a jab at me for. And I would so often delete those videos because I was like, oh, it's doing horrible. Like, the views are crap. People are being mean in the comments. And then one day I had to be like, girl, just keep it up. Just keep it up. Don't reply to the mean comments. Like, just keep it up. And I think keeping it up and ignoring a majority of the haters, which are now few and far between, really helped me to succeed on social media. You've got to have a thick skin.
Yeah, I think too. Well, that's a really, really great point. And I think that talking honestly about what it actually looks like, because anybody that meets you is going to be like, she's so happy and positive and famous and all those things, right? But like, there is another side to this, which isn't super popular to talk about online, is the hate that you're getting from the people that are watching your videos. Now, the important thing to remember, and I think as we're talking about mental health, and I think just the internet and comments and all of that as a whole, is to remember, and I know that at this point you have to know this to be true, but it's not the people that love you that like you're gonna like listen to all the time. Like, it's easy. Like, I can text you every day and be like, Siiri, I love you. What you're doing is amazing, blah, 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 blah. It can be one comment that hits. Like, it's one thing that you're like, wait, I already think that about myself, and you just commented it. Like, it's really, really toxic, but it's never the love and the support and the encouragement that you're going to carry all the time. So to say, I want to be like Siiri, my goal is to be like Siiri, when like, you have to have a tough skin. You have to have a thick skin to do this. And to say, you know what, I'm not going to worry about it, which is why I think it's so valuable that you all have each other to go through this. Because if it was just like, okay, Siiri's the only TikTok influencer and doing hair talk and all that stuff, like if it was only you, like that would be so hard. But sharing this experience with everybody else is so important. So I'm so thankful that you're honest to say like you would delete videos. Like, I am obviously like nowhere like near your all's level, but I could see myself being like, yeah, this didn't go well, I didn't say this right or whatever, I'm gonna take it down. But the sentiment of like, keep it up, like I really, really love that. And I would love like speak more to that, of kind of what you've had to experience or go through, just in kind of finding yourself on this platform.
I know that I can speak for myself and others when I say that it is extremely important to have community, at least a similar community with whatever content you're putting out there. Luckily, I have what's known as Hair Talk, and a lot of us have a group chat. And some days when the comments get to us, we will just send it to each other within the group chat, and we kind of brainstorm ideas off of each other and bounce around ideas. And so often we remind exactly what you said, like, bestie, you had 500 good comments and you had 3 bad comments. And then within that, we also understand that it is human nature to focus on the bad more so than the good. So we kind of just sit there and validate one another and remind each other of the pros instead of the cons. And I know that some of us have different ways of dealing with it. Like, Marky is very head on and she's not afraid of anything, and I really admire her for that. And she'll reply and she'll be really brave. And my go-to is to ghost my comment section, which I don't necessarily feel like is fair to the support that I get, but sometimes it's just easier to put down the phone and not pay attention to it and not like doom scroll in the comment section to see if you yourself can nitpick any bad comments, because that's something that we unintentionally train our brains to do also, is to just like look for the bad. And I feel like that defeats the purpose of all of these really good comments that you're getting, because then you're just setting yourself up for failure. If you know that it's there, you don't have to go hunting for it. Just put the phone down, love her, leave her alone. I ghost my comment section. That's how I deal with it. And I would say that the biggest part of it, on top of like having to make yourself have a thick skin, is to have community, because you can rely on each other. You can validate one another. You can be there for one another. I think having shared and similar experiences is really important too, because then, like I said, you just feel validated, and you're like, okay, I'm not the only person that this is happening to. And it makes the target on your back feel a lot less, feel smaller than it actually is.
Yeah, no, I think that's so awesome. And I think you all, like I said, are just so lucky to have each other going through this. Cause I know, just like everything else, it's not always like rainbows and sunshine. So I think it's good to, to talk about that. And to be honest, how much of, the success of what you all have done, and you specifically, how much of it is it like that it's just like a spark, it happens, it takes off? And how much of it is that it's, you all were the ones that were meant to do this, and you all have the skills and the talent? What is your perspective on that? Because I think a lot of people want to say like, or want to think that it's just luck, right? Like that the algorithm just worked and Siiri just went to the top. And how much of it is that it's, this is what was meant for you?
So I am a firm believer in right place, right time kind of thing. So I think that with that goes, I don't want to discount the amount of work that I put into it, but I'm also not going to discount the fact that the algorithm just worked in my favor, and one video hit 1 million, and then that drew in some followers. And I think that once you hit the For You page, you're more likely to hit the For You page. But when that one, okay, so I had a video hit 1,000 views, and I went out to my mom and her previous partner. They were in the living room, and I was like, that meme of that little girl from Vine where she's like, I want to be famous. Like, that was me, but I was so serious. I hit 1,000 views, which I had never done before. And I was like, I was so gassed up. I was like, I'm going to be famous, guys. And my mom kind of just like rolled her eyes and took what I said with a grain of salt. And she was like, okay, Siiri. And they were low-key giggling at me because like it's 1,000 views. But something I've been seeing all over social media recently too is people split up into 50 and 100 and 1,000. Like 1,000 people is a concert. So to have 1,000 people like your post or comment on your post or view your video, like that is a good start, and that is concert worthy attendance. So don't discount having a lower viewing, because when you actually look at it for what it is, like that is people who took time out of their day to appreciate what you put out there. And I'm just all about give and take. But back to the story. So then I posted a video, and it was a video at my old salon, and it was this Post Malone sound, and they do this every year, and it was me talking about how blondes want to go dark in the winter, and then when spring comes around, they want to be platinum again. And I put my phone down and I did a highlight and a blowout, and while it was processing, I looked at my phone and it was at 700,000 views, and I was like, I don't think this is real. And then I went to one of my mentors at the time, and I was like, my video has 739,000 views. And she was doing her aunt's hair, and she was like, surely you mean 739. And ooh, I don't know if I can say this, but that pissed me off, because I was like, no, this says 739,000. And my mentor was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I feel like when you've never been in that position before, it is very cool to this day. I'm still very grateful when I get a video that does so well in views. But when you don't understand truly what that means, it kind of is like, oh, that's cool, but like, what does that mean moment. And so that's kind of where I was just in limbo, like, oh, this is cool, but like I still got to clock in tomorrow, and I still got to choose between a pack of cigarettes and dinner tonight. Like, I don't know. And so then I went to
You're like, wait, am
Walmart
I rich now?
afterwards.
Like, does somebody just come
Right.
up and like give me all my
Can
money
I
now that I've had this many
am I
views?
an
Like, what happens?
influencer? Can I put in my 2 weeks? Like, how does this, where do we go from here? And so I was at Walmart, and I was getting like a freezer dinner, and I look at my phone again, I'm at self-checkout, and it hit 1 million views. And then like 2 days later, the sound was no longer available in my country, so it fizzled out very fast. And but I had gotten some followers from it. And then I kept posting and I kept posting, trying to relive that high, and nothing came from it. But then I started watching larger creators on TikTok and paying attention to what they did, and paying attention to what was trending, and paying attention to what hashtags they used, and paying attention to the frequency and how often they posted a day, how often they posted a week. And Victoria Paris had put out a video way back in like 2020, 2019, talking about how part of it was luck and part of it was because she put out the mother freaking content. And I, again, with the Daniel Mason Jones thing, like I took that and I took that to heart, and I ended up moving, getting a new job, restarting my life. Life was scary. I didn't have a clientele. And so life was scary because I had all of this free time on my hands. And at least at my old job that I didn't really like I had a full book. And now I was just starting over, and all that I had was TikTok, which is such a silly sentiment, but like it was filling the void of that free time. And I remember what Victoria Paris had said. And so I started posting. Willy-nilly. I posted between 3 and 6 times a day, 7 days a week. So minimum, I was putting out 21 videos a week, and my brain was just like, one of these videos will hit the For You page. And I think that's how I got 2 million followers in a year. And if you pay attention to my page, I have significantly slowed down with the posting because I'm busier now and life happens and I make a lot of excuses. But I'm a firm believer that if I was still posting in the frequency that I posted when I first started coming up on TikTok, I would have more than 5.5 million followers. Like, posting is your best friend.
Yeah. And people are so intimidated by it. I think it's like the bravest thing to be able to be like, I'm just going to post, I'm just going to put it out there. Like, you are so vulnerable. Like, people act like it's, if you don't do it, right? If you're not in this world, but it's just people that are scrolling and watching, like they think it's just so easy. And to know that you're putting out that much content, like not only did you had to like, I know the thought was in your mind of, what if everybody hates this? This isn't whatever. Are they going to make, like, those are like that negative self-talk, like I'm sure was happening, even though you're putting out 21. Like, that's why, like, I feel like these conversations are so important, because people don't realize how much work it truly is. And they want to like make fun of influencers and like all of that stuff. And I'm like, you have no idea. Like, how hard it is, how much you're putting yourself out there. And that's why I think that like for you and Bailey to be the one speaking on the mental health side of this, it is so important. It's a message that you all need to speak about, because I don't know, it's just like your experience and what you've gone through was not the easy route by any means, like getting hate and all of that stuff is not easy to take. But people can post and have, whatever number like makes them happy of their views and stuff. And like maybe never even post anything that like they're uncomfortable with. Like they may not have even put anything out yet that is scary. And that might be why they're sitting at the number that they're sitting at. So I think that that message is awesome. And I'm so thankful that you shared that, because I think that is something that does need to be talked about. So as we're talking about like Bailey and the classes and all of that stuff, I know you all planned some dates to tour and stuff. I think one of the things that I'm watching with you all is really to see what you do with this fame now, right? Because you all led the way of getting all the followers and stuff. And I know everyone's going different routes, because it is something that you all are figuring out right now of like, what do we do next with this? What's happening. So at America's Beauty Show this year, what is it that you all are going to be talking about? I know you said the class is similar, but different. What is the subject? What are you all focusing on right now that you're like, we need to talk about this, and this is what, we're going to be teaching on?
Well, I believe that this year's theme, because, America's Beauty Show, they do it up every year and they have a different theme every year. And I believe the theme this year is growth, change.
Grow. Yep.
They were talking about, very earthy palettes. And Bailey and I mean, obviously, if you can't tell from the green, like, that's just something that resonates with us. And I think that with the classes and the route that we're trying to take them now, especially within that theme, is we're trying to show more gratitude and show how you can turn this horrible thing that happened to you into a learning lesson, and you can still find a silver lining within it. Like, I can look back and remember all of the bad things that happened to me at the salons that I worked at before I started working for myself. I can remember the clients that I had. I can remember the way that I was taken advantage of by so many different people in the process. I can remember some of the personal things that were said to me that should have never been said to me because we're in the workplace. And I can sit there and harp on that, and I can monetize off of that, and I can make content off of it, and I can... The way that I was looking at it was like, I feel like it is harming as much as it is helping by putting these stories out there without telling people the good side of it. And the good side of it is the first salon that I worked at, with everything bad that happened, I didn't know how to do updos, and they taught me how to do updos, and I found a passion in updos. And when people look at me and they look at my page, I think that they just see someone who likes to do vivids, which is very fair. But my bread and butter, and I feel like my calling as a stylist, is wedding hair and vivid hair colors. And I would have never known that had it not been for the first salon that I worked at and them teaching me how to do updos and me finding this confidence in this thing that I've come to realize not a lot of people like to do. Much like at my second salon, where I had similar experiences and different negative experiences, but she taught me how to do a clipper cut, clipper over comb, didn't even have to use guards. Like, I feel like you can still have gratitude for negative situations, and you can still find a silver lining, and you can still make a good out of the bad days, and you should absolutely deserve to advocate for yourself, but it doesn't all have to be gloom and doom. And so we're just trying to steer it in a direction of growth and gratitude, and not just trying to portray the industry as negative and toxic, because that's not all it is.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I'm so excited for this class. I'm so excited to all be there together again. I can't wait to like hug everybody. I'm already like literally like now we're at the point, especially with doing like these, that I'm like, oh, it's coming up quick. Like we're gonna all be together soon and all like just in that world. And it really is like it's such a fast couple of days, but it is like okay, I don't know, we all get good time together, and I feel like that's really awesome. Like, I feel like for anybody that's coming to the show, like that maybe hasn't been to the show before. I mean, I think being prepped for it being like so overwhelming and overstimulating, and like making sure you take those times to retreat back to the room, like when you need to do that. But there's so much good. And I think this year, especially with the theme being grow, it's something that I've thought about more too. And it sounds like you and Bailey are also like, of just what does this mean for us? Because I think that there's a lot of change happening right now, and there's a lot of uncertainty. But in that, for some reason, like this year specifically, I'm finding so much more peace and being like, all right, something's shifting, something's moving. And that could be just that I'm like getting older, and I know that when these seasons happen, it's like, okay, well, hopefully there's something good on the other side of it. Like, this isn't just like it's going to be like this forever. I can kind of have the mindset of like, this is changing right now, and that's okay, because something's changing, and that's, that's good, and that's what we want. So I'm excited for you all to talk about that, and to share that. I wanted to get an update from you. So you moved. So you are where are you? Well, do you talk about where you're at now? Do you ever say your location?
I haven't talked about it in like close to a year, because I wasn't even actually, okay, I wasn't living in St. Louis, but everyone thought that I lived in St. Louis. I just had a salon loft in the Grove in St. Louis because of my proximity to St. Louis, but I wasn't even living in the state of Missouri. I was living in Illinois.
What?
And yeah, I don't know. I do not think that I am Kardashian level big. I'm not worried for my safety, but with all of this, I do think that you have to keep some things private. And with the move, I'll tell you afterwards, but I am planning on telling people. I just haven't gotten into a salon yet, but I'm signing papers today, and I should be able to start on the 10th, taking clients again, doing my videos in a professional setting. I'm very excited to get back into the groove of things. I feel like I'll feel more fulfilled being out of the house and beautifying people. But for right now, I just haven't told anyone because I know that I'm going to get an influx of messages of people being like, can you do my hair? Can I get an appointment with you? And I want
Yeah.
to wait until I'm in the salon before I do that, because right now I'm getting everything set up.
Yeah, that's so exciting. So I was going to ask you, that's what I was leading into as far as like location wise. Like, so right now I know that there's been like an off time of just like life happening. Like you took a break, like doing life, doing your content and everything still, but so you are going back behind the chair.
Yeah, I didn't want to stop altogether. And then for a lot of those that have followed my journey, I had gastric sleeve surgery 2 years ago. And I do not regret my decision. Overall, mostly I feel better, but with a lot of things can come some complications. And my doctors and I are trying to figure out what's going on with me, because I have just never been this tired or like felt so ugh in my life. And it's not low iron or anything. I am wanting to get a tilt table test, because something that a lot of people can develop after the surgery that I had is POTS. And I seem to be displaying a lot of those symptoms. I'm definitely not self-diagnosing, but I'm just trying to like cross off like every box so that I can like see what's wrong, because all of my blood work has come back positive. But that's kind of why I ended up taking as big of a break as I did. And I felt, you guys, I don't know how people do it. I think that the dream is to like not work full time and to just kind of be able to sit at home and like play Fortnite and eat whatever you want and not get out of bed until noon. And listen, I've been doing that and it's not fun. Like now going to Walmart is like a field trip. I'm like, yeah, let's get out of the house.
Yeah, I think that purpose and like feeling fulfilled in whatever that is. So, like, if that is being at home or whatever, like that is, if that is your purpose, I think that's great. I think
Yeah,
that
it just was
just,
not mine.
right, exactly. Like you're ready to get back. So, you're gonna go do hair again, and I'm so excited, to hear and watch all of that. Do you know how you're gonna handle like booking clients now that you're coming into this in such a different way, right? Like when you started before, like it was like, how am I going to get clients? And now it's how are you going to allow people in? Have you like thought about that? Do you have a plan yet? Or you're just kind of going to wait and see like what happens?
I so you know how they say do what you love and like you'll never work a day in your life. There were a lot of things, because I loved the people but not the service. There were a lot of services that I would take just because I loved the person and I was like, "Oh, but I love her, so I'll just do this even though it's not my favorite service." And I think that's something that is so outdated in our industry, is that you have to do everything. And, you know, unfortunately, there are some settings in which you do have to do everything. But I think something that is becoming more prevalent within our industry is you can specialize in things. And I specialize in vivids and formal hair. I specifically like to do wedding hair, something that not a lot of people know. I guess I'm actually kind of bad at putting things out there. I travel for weddings, and I traveled like all over the country last year doing weddings, like South Carolina, Missouri, Georgia, like all over. And that's something that I would really like to push more of this year, because I don't know, I just love doing wedding hair. I love doing bridesmaids. I love doing flower girls. It's just very fun. So I think in terms of my booking process, it's going to be a change, and some people aren't going to be too fond of it because, you know, they wanted me to make them blonde, or they wanted me to give them a pixie, which I don't do pixies. But I think in terms of my booking process, I'm probably only going to be taking on vivids and wedding clients for now.
Okay. That's so exciting. And I do think though also like that idea of being able to do everything, like in school, yes, you need to learn everything. And maybe when
Yes.
you're starting out, but like you're in a different season now. And I think
Yeah.
that we all need to like be okay with it being like, this is the season that Siiri's in right now. And this is what you're able to do. This is what you get to do, you know?
Yeah.
And again, that can change. It doesn't mean that this is what you have to do for the rest of your life. I think really being like, allowing yourself to grow and change and all of those things, if we can all just give ourselves that grace to be like, yeah, like I would love it if, you know, Siiri made me platinum blonde, but okay, you can refer them to somebody
Yeah.
that is great. You don't owe somebody that. Like that's the crazy thing is when people think they're like, oh, I paid for to be in Siiri's chair, so she just has to do whatever I want is like a wild idea. I know that that's like I'm sure what the public most of the public thinks, but that is crazy. So I'm really excited to see what you do with this. I'm happy to hear because again, like we didn't talk prior to this. I'm happy to hear that you are doing that because again, I'm watching your all's trajectory of what you do with this. And you know, hope that you will continue to be honest about what's happening in your life there and being able to share those stories because this is a new season and I think your friends, not your followers, your friends, I think that they are gonna really, really love seeing a change and seeing the growth and seeing new videos and new content. And I think that's awesome. I can't wait to see it and see how it changes. And I think that you, like I said, are such a light and are so instrumental in so many people's career paths that again, this is just going to be one more way that you're, you know, setting the stage for what you can do in this industry. And I think, you know, my belief and the way that I am with my students in the school and stuff is just like encouraging them to be like, whatever avenue you want to go, like, let's do it full speed and like, let's be the best at it. And I think as long as you're doing that, I mean, you can do anything in the world. And I truly believe that. Like, I really am like, well, as long as you're giving it, you know, your best, it's it. And even if it's not like success via money or whatever, it's at least going to lead you to the next thing.
Yeah.
In my wise years, I feel like that's what I've learned is like, even if it's not money or whatever, it's going to lead you to the next thing. And that's what matters, right? Is that we just like keep going, and keep evolving, keep changing.
Yeah. I kind of feel like it's the craziest thing because I don't think a lot of people would understand based off of the content that I put out there. But I feel like I've been doing a lot of soul searching recently with, you know, just like my faith and where I want to go in life and what I want to do in life. And I feel like I was given this huge platform, not necessarily to make a change in the hair world, even though that's what I have ended up doing. But especially after the event that you did with suicide awareness and my past with addiction and sobriety and so much craziness that not a lot of people know of, I feel like I have a greater calling in life and I was given this platform to help with that calling. And right now I'm kind of like, in terms of what's next for me in hair, it's Vivids and bridal. But in terms of what's next for me in life, I feel like I have been given this platform to, I don't know, just raise awareness for so many different things. Like I want to go to South Carolina and help with the hurricane cleanup. I want to go to California and help with the fire. Like there are just so many different things that I want to do. And I feel like I'm being pulled in every direction. And I feel like in terms of social media, it's going to probably change a little bit in terms of you're still going to see a lot of hair content, but you're also going to see a lot of real life. And since my life has changed so substantially because of everything that's happened over the years, I just want to give back as much as I can. I don't know what that looks like yet, but like it's coming. And I can just, to what you said earlier, recognize that change is coming and it can be scary. And something that I have come to learn in the past 26 years is that a lot of times you're really, really uncomfortable before something big and incredible happens. And this is the most discomfort that I've experienced in a long time. And my life is good, so I should not be having this much discomfort. But I feel like it's just preparing me for this really big shift that's about to happen. And I just hope that I put it to such good use and that I'm steered in a direction of love and support and giving back to everything that was given to me.
Yeah. Well, I know you will. I have no doubt at all that that's what you're going to do, and I think just as you grow and as you get older and stuff too. I mean, you're very wise beyond your years. I mean, you've lived life and are honest about that, and I think that that does mature you in a way. But it is finding comfort in that uncomfortableness that I think really will propel you, because if not, then it's going to hold you back, right? Like if it's not, like if you start to get uncomfortable and you're like, oh no, something's happening, something's changing, that's a distraction from what you're gonna achieve, right? Like that's just pausing you to say, I'm gonna sit in this discomfort instead of being like, I'm gonna run, like, let's go. And it's
Yeah.
just getting comfortable enough to say, like, all right, things are, I literally said this to Mark like last week. Like I was having just like lots of anxiety, just like crying for no, and I'm like, oh, I'm just like about to start my period, I guess. Like, I don't know. I just wanted to like blame it on that. But I'm like, no, like I know that something's changing right now. I know that I'm being stirred for in some way, that like I'm getting ready for something. And I
Yeah.
don't know what it is. And I don't know if that's like kind of how you're feeling too. If you're like, I just know
100%.
I'm getting ready for something. And like, so if I need to switch my mindset about this person, or even just like of how I handle certain things, like how I handle stress, like it's preparing me for something. And I'm so open to whatever is coming. I'm so excited for wherever that's going to be. That it's like, okay, well now it's, uncomfortable, but we're going, like we're moving. And I think that that's such growth. And if I wish I like knew anything when I was younger, like it's literally that. It's just knowing that like the change is not so negative.
Yeah, embrace the change, because I feel like how they say you can't have a rainbow without rain. Like you have
Hmm.
to trek through so much discomfort before you reach the end goal. And I mean, it's like running like a relay race. Or I'm not a runner. I would never put myself through that. I respect the heck out of people who do. But it's like doing one of those like triathlons, like that they are tired. I've seen actual videos of people like crawling to the finish line because they are like just their bodies hurt and they are worn out. But I feel like it's probably similar to that feeling of like when you get past the finish line and you know that you have just gone through hell and back to get to where you needed to be. And now you have found this success and this victory and this comfort of knowing that that discomfort is over, on top of the good feelings that come with finishing. And so embrace the change for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited for you. I really am. I'm so pumped to see like where you go and what you do. And I know you mentioned the event. And I think that so many people were blown away by you sharing your story like in person. So in that room at the Tennessee Beauty Professional Awards, we need to like talk about this, because I reached out to you just about being like a judge. And I was like, oh, this will be great. People get excited that this is who's judging the work. And you texted and you were like, can we come to the event? I was like, oh my gosh, if you can be there, like that would be amazing. I would never ask you to like show up like that, and you did. And you and Bailey both got to speak and got to talk about your experience with suicide and mental health issues. And there are so many people that literally came up to me after and they were like, I had no idea, like her story, changed me and like changed my life. And I wish that we had like the recording of all of this, because your story was so impactful. And again, just one of those moments where you're again like, this is like you were there and made it through that to share your story. And I think that that's a gift that you have. And so just so thankful for all of that. Thankful for you and what you did. And the students are still like talking about how you and Bailey were at the school and got to see everything. So I don't know, you're making a difference. And I think that it's so important what you're using your platform for good. Like there's only positive ahead for you. Like I have no doubt that this is like just the beginning of something really, really big. And I know so much has already happened. So it's crazy to be like, oh, this is just the beginning. But I really believe it is, because I just think you're going to change the world. You're going to do something huge.
Thank you. I hope that's really all I hope. If I can even just make one difference the way that DMJ made one difference within me, like that will be more than enough.
Yeah. Well, I'm so thankful for you and I love you and I can't wait to see you at America's Beauty Show. I'm going to hug you so big. I'm going to attack hug you as soon as I see you. I cannot wait. But so I think that the one thing that if you're listening today, this will come out before America's Beauty Show. So if you haven't gotten your tickets to the show yet, make sure you do. You literally get to meet all of the influencers, all of the artists, all of the educators. So one thing that I really just feel like people don't understand is that they are going to be able to see you in classes and teach, and it's not, from a distance. It's close and personal, and I'm just so excited for that. So I can't wait. So where can we follow you? If people are listening and not following yet, that's crazy. But where can we follow you?
You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Lemon8, TikTok, YouTube. It's all Siiri Parks with 2 S's, and on everything but Lemon8, I believe I'm verified, so that should help weed out me from many, many fakes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And if you are listening today, if you are listening on the podcast, make sure you give us a 5-star review, leave a comment, tell us how much you loved it, how much you loved us being together. And if you are watching on YouTube, subscribe, comment, and make sure that you're following on all platforms so you don't miss episodes. We've got a ton of new content coming up, so excited for that. So Siiri, thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to see you, and you're just the best. You just made my day.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was very therapeutic. The word I was trying to remember earlier was responsible. I feel like this is like it's responsible to say that like this was a therapy session, but you weren't giving me any medical advice.
Yes, you remember the word. I love that came back to you. I love when that happens. That's the best feeling
Unmedicated
ever.
ADHD, man. I will pick up a conversation that happened 6 months ago.
I love that. I'm super thankful we got through this because you and I both, it's a little darty, but together, maybe we just maybe the screen is good for you and me. Maybe this buffer is actually good. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.